Hey everyone, I'm Marla, and I'm the face Hey everyone, my name is Marla, and I'm the face behind From Rust to Roses Vintage. I'm also a member of Sonnet's creative group, and we have decided to do a second Flippin' Frenzy. So stay tuned to see what I did with the 5 interesting and unique items I received. Hey everyone, I signed up for another Flippin' Frenzy through Sonnet's creative group. Janet got my name, sent me a box, and said I'm looking forward to see what you create. First thing out of the box were these 2 foam die. Had me a little nervous about what else might be in there. But then I saw this planter, had an idea for it immediately. There were 2 shiny black candlesticks, 2 black double hooks, a cute little shelf sitter with a saying from Dolly Parton on it, I assume, and this welcome sign. So let's get started and see what I create. I grabbed the planter first because I knew what I was going to do. I mixed some salt wash with DIY's weathered wood and covered the entire planter with that, hoping that the texture would cover up the lettering that was on the front. I mixed up some milk paint in a nice fall color and covered the entire surface of the planter. After that, I got out my IOD sunflower mold and made several molds to put on both the front and the back of the planter. After watching the molds slide continuously down the front of the planter, I grabbed some painter's tape and glued them on and left it there until I knew the glue had dried. I painted the molds with Summer Crush, Queen Bee, and Cherry Picked. Once everything had dried, I sanded the milk paint and finished it with some dark oil wax. I painted the inside of the container so the tin wouldn't show once the project was finished. After I had painted the entire inside of the planter, I took some dark and decrepit liquid patina and used it on as a glaze on the outside. I wanted to bring out all the definition in the petals and in the leaves. I liked the dark color it added to the milk paint, so I went over the milk paint with the dark and decrepit as well. I continued adding dark and decrepit and wiping it back with a soft cloth until I got the look that I was going for. After that, I took some twigs from my backyard and glued them together to make a small fence, and then used some faux barbed wire that I got on Amazon to create the effect of barbed wire going across the fence. I had this vision in my mind that takes me back to Nebraska where I grew up, of seeing the birds sit along the barbed wire fences, especially in the fall, one of my favorite seasons, favorite times of year. So I wanted to create this little fence to put in my flower display and find a bird to put on it. Once I had the floral foam put in the bottom, I inserted my fence and then began to fill the container with flowers. I chose flowers that had fall colors, but specifically did not choose sunflowers because of the molds that I had put on the front. I wanted it to look more like grasses and the types of flowers that you might see growing along the fence line out in the prairie. Not to say that sunflowers don't grow there, but I was looking for something slightly different. Once I thought I had enough flowers in there, I made sure that I saved a space where I could put my bird. It was just a matter of figuring out how to get him in there. So I went back to the twigs that I had left from creating the barbed wire fence and tried to make a pedestal of sorts that I could put the bird on. Once I had the bird in place, I started covering up the floral foam with some Spanish moss. Again, I chose the brownish gray as opposed to the bright green because I really did want a fall feel to this project. As a final touch, I added 2 crochet type pumpkins that I had purchased from the Dollar Tree last year. I was very happy with the way this project turned out, and so I think I will keep it myself rather than take it to my booth. For project 2, I decided to tackle the 2 foam die that came in the box. It only took me about a day to decide what I wanted to do with them. I decided to whittle them down into more of a sphere shape and then cover each of them with a layer of air dry clay. Once they were covered, I started cutting out sections and gluing those on to get the resemblance of a pumpkin. Once I had finished covering them, I painted one in Summer Crush and the other one in Queen Bee. I followed that up with a coat of Dixie Belle Iron Patina paint, and then while they were drying, tried to decide how to make stems for them. I ended up rolling up some tin foil into a stem shape and then covering it with air dry clay so that I could bend it into the kind of gnarly looking stem that I wanted. Once I had the stems fashioned, I glued them onto the top of the pumpkin, covered any exposed tin foil with clay, and then gave them another coat of Dixie Belle Iron Patina paint. The paint was still wet. I got out the blue and green sprays that go with the Iron Patina paint and sprayed the 2 pumpkins. As the pumpkins were drying, I got some leaves from some greenery I had thrifted from the Goodwill and started painting them to look like fall leaves. I gave each leaf a coat of liquid patina to seal in the chalk paint that I had used. I then grabbed the pumpkins and gave them a coat of wax, actually rubbing it in with my hands to get it deep down into the crevices, and then I polished them both with a soft towel. I used some brown coated wire I had purchased off of Amazon to make some vines, and then used a hot glue gun to attach the leaves to those vines. When I first started this project, I really wasn't sure if it was going to turn out and have the look that I wanted, but I do think they ended up looking like rusty, crusty pumpkins. For project 3, I decided to get out of the fall mode and do something completely different. So I took the welcome sign and gave it a coat of white paint. I had decided I was going to decoupage something on it, but when I painted it white, I wasn't really sure where I was going with it. I then decided that I would make a riser out of it by using some epoxy glue to glue on the 2 black candlesticks that were also included in the box. While the piece was drying, I chose a piece of decoupage paper to put on the top that had more of a French feel to it. I love roses. Not normally a fan of blue, but I do like blue and white as it pertains to antique and vintage glassware. I used Debbie's DIY liquid patina to decoupage the paper onto the top of the riser. I used my fingers to score the edge so I could size it, and then used a starter strip to put the paper down. I also spritzed my paper with a little water before I put it on to make it go down smoother. Once it was dry, I took some 220 grit sandpaper and sanded the excess paper off of the edges. I then got out one of my IOD trimmings molds and decided I was going to trim around the top to make it nicer. Instead of using air dry clay, I decided this time to use amazing casting resin. I thought it would make the border stronger and less likely to chip off during use. I chose the trimmings that I wanted, filled them up, and then waited about 10 minutes for them to set up completely. As you can see here, I'm working my way around the top of the riser using some Titebond glue to glue the pieces into place. Resin is very easy to cut if you do it right after you unmold it. I decided I wanted to add some blue to the little legs, and so I got out one of my IOD paint inlays and cut a couple of small pieces that would fit on the front of the candlesticks. I tried to fussy cut them as much as possible because I really don't like the lines that are left when you use a paint inlay in paint. Once I cut them out, I spritzed the paint side with a little bit of water, put some fresh paint on the candlesticks, and then put the paint inlays in place. When you're putting paint inlays in place, you want to make sure that you tap them down with your finger or paper towel so that the paint on the inlay comes into contact with the wet paint, and then dab up any excess water with a paper towel. While the inlays were drying, I took the opportunity to paint the molding that I had put around the top of the riser. I removed the tape from the top of the riser and then checked the inlays to see if they were dry and ready to come off. When you take off an inlay, you need to first spritz it with some water and then wait about 30 seconds before you try to pull it off. I am always amazed when I pull the inlay off and see the design that is left behind. Before finishing the project, I applied a coat of Pent Art Crackle Medium to the top. I did want the top to be very shiny and look like porcelain, but I also wanted to look like it was old and crazed. The last step for this project was to apply some Fusion aging wax to the outside of it. I used a chip brush so I could get down into the little nooks and crannies in the mold. I did the bottom and the legs as well as all over the top. Once I had it on there, I took a soft cloth to wipe it back. And I'm really happy with how this riser turned out. I started Project 4 with a wood oval that I had in my stash. I gave it one coat of Fusion mineral paint. I believe the color is Casement. While it was drying, I took the two black hooks that were in the box and wanted to give them a rusty look, and so I used weathered wood, queen bee, and I believe that's Summer Kiss to give them an aged look. After the paint on the oval had dried, I got out one of the new Roycycled papers that came from Sonnet's July's Maker Box. It's a beautiful paper. I don't remember the name of it, but I knew right away when I saw it that I wanted to use it. I used my fingers just to go around the edge and score out the section that I needed to cut to fit on top of the oval. I used the marks left by my finger as a guide so I could cut that out. This is a beautiful paper and it's very large, so I wanted to save as much of it as I could. Once I had it cut out, I laid it on top of the oval to get the right positioning, and then I decoupaged it down as I had done with the decoupage paper when I made the riser. I start with a starter strip, something that I learned from, I believe, Sonnet, but I know that many creators use a starter strip. I also spray my paper so that the fibers will release and it will stretch a little bit. This definitely helps to keep out the bubbles and the wrinkles. I lost some of the footage that I thought I had because when I looked at the film, my camera was pointed at the ceiling. I found this key on a wooden open and closed sign that I picked up at Goodwill, so I took it off of that sign to use on this one. I then used my drill to add the two hooks that I had painted to the front and turn this into a place to hang your keys. I used some 220 grit sandpaper to rough up the edges a little bit because I always like things to look like they've been around for a while and not brand new out of the store. To finish off the project, I started first with a coat of Fusion's clear wax. I went over the decoupage paper, the keys, the two hooks, and the weathered wood on the front. And the reason I put clear wax on first was so when I use the aging wax, which is my next step, if I got too much in any one area, it would be easy for me to go back and wipe it off because the clear wax gave me sort of a barrier. Clear wax will often act like an eraser if you have put too much dark wax on something. For Project 5, I used the small shelf sitter and the napkin that Sonnet included in the maker's box for July. Again, a lot of the footage is missing. I think that of the 3 videos I had facing the ceiling, at least 2 of them were of this project. I picked up this figurine of a mother bird and her baby at the Goodwill several months ago. I love birds, but I wasn't really happy with the paint job. I think it made it look very dated. So I gave it a coat of Fusion mineral paint in the color Casement. Once I had it painted, I used some small transfers from IOD to put some flowers and a couple of butterflies on the figurines. Once that was done, I used the dark and decrepit liquid patina again to get down into the nooks and crannies, and then went over the entire thing with Fusion clear wax. And again, I apologize for not having all of the video to show how I put these 2 items together. I'd like to thank everyone who took the time to watch my video today. It truly means a lot that you would spend part of your day with me. I currently have a website under construction, but in the meantime, if you live in or near the Las Vegas area, please visit my booth at the Antique Mall of America for all of your DIY needs. I carry Debbie's DIY paint, cottage colors, Fusion mineral paint, Alchemy by Fusion, Sweet Pickins milk paint, Roycycle decoupage papers, Connie's lines and designs, and I'm excited to announce I have just become a stockist for Iron Orchid Designs. Thank you.